if you look at the National Corn Yield Contest, we have yields of 600 bushel, and we're only at 210 bushel for state average. So the upside continuing potential is great, and we've got to stay focused on demand, right? We got to figure out how to use it. Otherwise, we end up with prices that we kind of have right now.
Welcome back to Illinois Corn TV. I'm Lindsay Croke, the Director of Marketing and Communications here at Illinois Corn. And today I am joined by Rodney Weinzierl, who is our Executive Director of the Illinois Corn Growers Association and Illinois Corn Marketing Board. Thanks for joining us today, Rod.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So we'll launch right into our first question. For someone who has never heard of Illinois Corn before, how would you explain it? What does Illinois Corn do, and why does it matter to farmers?
So we're kind of like, even though we're two boards, we're kind of like two different associations. Each association does something a little bit different, but at a very high level, think of farmers as small business families across the state of Illinois, and a lot of issues in developing markets, into explaining to non-farmers what they do, representation to elected officials, whether it's at the state level or the federal level. Um, we represent their views. Okay. So we collect their views, and we have two different boards of directors. It kind of synthesizes those views into positions or what collectively we're capable of working on. And so then we advocate or invest in those things that individual farmers cannot do by themselves.
That's a key point. What things that farmers cannot do by themselves.
Right. So if you think about like Japan, no one farmer is going to send corn. No one ethanol plant is going to send necessarily ethanol. We have to collectively work to develop those markets through the U.S. Grains Council. And so corn throughout actually the U.S. goes to Japan. And so we're part of affiliates with U.S. Grains Council. We're part affiliates with the National Corn Growers, advocating for Japan to buy more corn that benefits everybody who grows corn in the United States.
Sure. Another issue that I know has been tackled for many, many decades is upgrading our river infrastructure. That's something that one farmer really couldn't tackle on his or her own. But the collective of our group really can make a difference there.
Right. So organizationally, we are involved in what's referred to as the Illinois Waterways um, program, and they advocate for funding to upgrade the locks. These locks cost well over $1 billion each and take years to navigate the process, through the Corps of Engineers, and to get Congress and the administration to say okay on each individual project.
In that project specifically, a lot of analysis too that the marketing board has had to fund to determine what's doable, what really returns something to each Illinois farm family, those kinds of questions.
Right. And we work with other associations, corn associations, soybean associations, Illinois Farm Bureaus and Association. We also work with like the Carpenters Union as a partnership. And again, individual farmers wouldn't necessarily think to go meet with the carpenters, but carpenters like to build things, locks. And so there's a coalition effort that the associations kind of put that together with different invested entities out there.
Good. So you have a wealth of knowledge. You've worked at Illinois Corn for decades. What do you think is one thing that surprises farmers when they learn about the work that's happening behind the scenes on their behalf?
I think there's several things that farmers are surprised at. Typically, a farmer who has maybe a couple concerns will come to us, or they're involved in a county organization or on leadership. But almost always, when we get like new board members or we have county leaders come in, they're surprised at the breadth of different things that they haven't thought about that we're involved in. So that's kind of the first thing, is just the number of different issues that we deal with. I think the second thing is, and maybe it was simpler when I started, or before I started, but the degree of complexity on these issues is really much more vast than what people maybe see on the surface. And so that's another thing. And then also we have a tendency to focus on what we believe are the important things relative to Illinois corn, and where we have like comparative advantages. You mentioned waterways. We have three river systems, the Illinois, the Mississippi, and the Ohio River. So we focus on those things that directly relate to farmers who grow corn in Illinois and where we think we have a particular expertise or a comparative advantage that we want to make sure we're capitalizing on.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, for a farmer who doesn't know a lot about checkoff or maybe isn't on board with the checkoff program, what would you tell them? Like, is there a specific program that you think has had the biggest impact on corn farmers?
Well, one of the programs that I'm not sure I'd say it was had the biggest impact would be back now 15 years ago. We were working on crop insurance. And so Illinois Corn Marketing Board, through research monies funded with a number of folks at the University of Illinois, specifically Dr. Gary Schnicke, Dr. Bruce Sherrick. We worked with them and developed the yield trend endorsement that now probably 99% of the corn farmers and the bean farmers, and actually about any other crop, program crop, farmers use. And it allows the farmer to ensure the expected yield next year instead of just being able to ensure what their average yield was over the last 10 seasons that they grew corn. So if you're a corn bean rotation, it would be your average corn that you grew a decade ago that you would be allowed to insure. So that has had a really huge impact within crop insurance. And most people probably don't realize we did it because we did it a while ago. But at the time, it was like super important.
Mhm. I think of other things. One of the things that comes to mind for me would be the Precision Conservation Management Program. So, a program really in partnership with the association and the checkoff. Um, but that program touches so many farmers in Illinois individually, but also brings data that all farmers in Illinois can use. And I mean, that has happened in my entire career. So I feel partial to that one.
Well, and that's a program that was, started back in 2016, so right at 10 years now. In fact, we just published the
Yeah.
10-year, PCM booklet that's in the Prairie Farmer that I got here, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks ago. And the decision on that was somewhat unique in that the state of Illinois had just come up with a nutrient loss reduction strategy that they had adopted based on pressure of releasing nitrogen and phosphorus within the Gulf of Mexico off of the Mississippi River Basin. Illinois and Iowa are each a really big piece of that nitrogen and phosphorus, probably over 30%.
Mhm.
So 60% between the two states of 100%, and there's 26 other states. So Illinois and Iowa are big players or big parts of that. And specifically Illinois is the reduction strategy actually put in place targeted milestones. So we're the only state in the Mississippi River Basin that did that. Well, now that we have a number, we had to figure out, okay, are we going to do something about the number? And so we created the Precision Conservation Management Program to actually try and achieve making progress against that number
Mhm.
instead of just we need to reduce nitrogen and phosphorus. So it's a very unique program in the country, and was just reading a report here again about a month and a half ago where we've actually made progress in the Mississippi River Basin, by the hypoxic zone group of scientists, that continue to study that. So it's been an effective program. The farmers, we have a very low attrition rate of farmers. Farmers really like the program. And it's a program that's been growing, and we're now in Kentucky, Missouri, and Nebraska.
For farmers by farmers.
For farmers, by farmers. Yeah.
That's the key to that program. So agriculture has obviously changed a lot in your career, your long established career. What is one change that you've witnessed that would really shock your younger self?
So, you know, back when I started, like in the late 80s, um, we were from especially the checkoff side and also to a lesser extent from the association side, from the policy side, the number one driver is trying to figure out how to create demand. Okay. It is a constant creation of programming. And through my career, the ethanol industry, went from basically hardly nothing to where it's at today. Exports are stronger. We didn't even think about exporting distillers dry grains and solubles or ethanol for that matter. And so all of those markets have grown, but literally through yield gain, right, across my career, corn has gained about 2 bushel per year. And so that's like 75, 80 bushel difference from when I started, maybe even more than that. And so it's just, back then I never would have thought we would have had 200 bushel corn on a farm when we were at, 130.
Mhm,
Well, now the state is averaging over 200 bushel.
mhm.
And our farms are averaging 240, 255 bushel. So it's just amazing what has happened in the industry, what farmers have been able to do through their know-how from an agronomic uh, knowledge, but also from experience, what equipment has happened, what has happened with the whole biotech side and probably now biologic sides kicking in. And there's just I just don't see where it's gonna change. If you look at the National Corn Yield Contest, we have yields of 600 bushel,
Yeah.
and we're only at 210 bushel for state average. So the upside continuing potential is great, and we've gotta stay focused on demand, right? We gotta figure out how to use it, otherwise we end up with prices that we kinda have right now, and that's what we're trying to do, is figure out how to create more demand.
So when we talk about the future and the potential for lots of change and technological innovation, I want to know what's the advice you're giving young farmers or students today who are interested in either farming or being involved in agriculture the way that we are. I mean, you're a farmer and you've been involved in agriculture. Um, what advice do you give for those young people?
I think the 2 things that I try and talk a lot about, and this is probably coming more from the association management side or interacting with people, is it's still all about relationships.
Mhm.
I talked about the complexity of the issues, and even as an individual farmer, the complexity of new technology, knowing people that can help you navigate adoption, either new technology or new practices or a better understanding of what you should be thinking about. Relationships are important, even in this day where it's all social media or virtual. Relationships, knowing people who to call and getting someone to kind of like want to share their knowledge with you is important. I would also say tenacity. Um, Again, it goes to these issues are complex. You really want to stay objective, but if you don't get it the first time, just keep trying or change your pitch or change what you're looking for a little bit, but just keep at it, and tenacity is super important.
It's like the squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Yep. And yeah, tenacity is probably a nicer word or a phrase that capitalizes on that particular saying.
Yeah.
It's very true. It's
Mhm.
very true.
Yep. Okay, so looking ahead, where are you optimistic? So for the future of Illinois agriculture and the next generation of farmers, where is the optimism?
So I think if I think about what farmers are doing, young professional, the agribusiness side that supports, quote, the corn industry, the corn plant is a very unique crop relative to other crops that are grown in the world. It's a highly efficient plant, and so that's why the yield gain is so consistent, but probably also a bigger yield gain versus other crops.
Mhm.
The plant itself is unique in how you can crossbreed it because the reproductive parts, the tassel and the silks, is so easy to crossbreed and through hybridization than other crops. I mean, think of wheat, think of soybeans with a complex flower,
Mhm.
and you literally have to use tweezers to cross pollinate
Mhm.
these little itty bitty blossoms. And so the corn plant allows the plant to accelerate being able to move new genetics um, from just a few seeds to thousands and millions of acres. Um, I think the other thing that's unique because again, corn's such an efficient plant is there's a lot of opportunity to make the system of growing corn more efficient. So this is I'll refer to like carbon intensity scores through better nitrogen management, so agronomics. The again, just the efficiency of genetics of the plant is going to make CI score, the carbon intensity score of corn, go down. But there's also specific mechanical ag practices. Strip tilling is the same as no tilling. Target spraying is coming on herbicides and it's probably already commercially being used by a number of farmers throughout the state. Cover crops are another area that takes a higher level of management, but can work as you gain experience in that. So there's just the corn crop is going to be a very large crop relative to the importance to the world going forward just because of that pure efficiency, and so it's a good career, it's a good crop, obviously, for the Midwest farmers to grow, and I think it's just gonna keep going, and all of agriculture, agribusiness side, and farmers in general will be working together to see that future.
Thank you for all that perspective. If you're watching and you didn't notice, Rod is very passionate about corn. And if you have a question that we haven't already asked, please ask us that in the comments so that we can get Rod's perspective on that question. Wealth of knowledge and a very long career. Rod, I'm grateful to have worked most of my career with you as well. And just thank you for everything that you brought to our office and the the culture and the joy and the passion that we have here for our farmers.
It's
So,
fun. I mean, there's something new all the time, and then there's stuff we've been working on for 20 years, and
mhm,
we make progress, and then we realize we have to make more progress.
mhm,
So,
for sure. So we're gonna pivot to the not to be corny section. This is where I ask you a joke and you laugh or you don't laugh. So are you ready?
sure.
Okay. Why did corn win Employee of the Month? So the answer, it always went to the extra acre. It's a doozy.
Okay. All right. I get it. I get it.
Well, thank you so much for this time today. Thank you for watching. Make sure you check back in for our future episodes.